So I'm thinking I might just cut in and start it right here.
Okay.
Today we're recording a bunch of content for Open Arms and the new project you guys are undertaking. And so I just kind of want to talk to you about that and kind of catch up because you were like the second podcast I ever did.
Right.
Maybe third, something like that. So I wanted to, if you could you just walk us through a little bit of the project you have going on now?
Okay.
And what led you guys to this?
Okay, so it's through Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, and we call it YHDP, and that's just an acronym for the Homelessness Demonstration Project. Youth Homelessness Demonstration Project. And so it's a grant, and there are several agencies that received it throughout Georgia. We're the only ones here in South Georgia that received it, and we received it in the area of outreach. And we specifically wanted to go with that area because we believe if we can prevent a lot of things, the intervention isn't as deep or is not as necessary if we could start preventing things on a certain level. So there is prevention and intervention tied into it. And so this funding covers those barriers that young people may be facing, the barriers to being housed. So it can be something as simple as a bus ticket or as complicated as childcare. We do anything from car repairs because transportation is a huge issue for us here in Dougherty County anyway, because the transit system doesn't run on the hours that a lot of the jobs that young people are qualified for.
Yeah.
So that's something we definitely wanted to address. So anything that presents as a barrier for young people being stably housed, this funding can pretty much cover it. It's a laundry list of things that are available.
Yeah.
And that's what we needed because a lot of our other grants won't cover that. They'll cover the housing portion of it. But if we can even stop them from getting to the point that they are ending up homeless because there's a minor barrier or a barrier that could just be rectified in a 30 to 45 days, then we want to address that on this end. Yeah.
What sort of barriers are you used to seeing?
Of course, employment is one. The available jobs and the jobs that are available having access to transportation. Education is another one. Some of them might not have completed high school yet. Some of them might be in an educational program, whether it's a vocation or something like that. That they don't have funding for it. Maybe they might not qualify for it because of the GPA, or they've dropped out, or some kind of academic probation. Just being unstably housed and not able to do a regular program. And so we're going to cover reaching your educational goals, realizing that leads to a higher income, which in turn leads to more stable housing for them. Childcare is a huge one. There is childcare assistance available, but we don't know there's often long waits for that. Sometimes there are employment requirements that they have not quite met. So you're stuck between having somewhere to place my child so I can go to work, or, not. And so we want to address that before they end up losing a potentially lucrative job because I don't have anywhere for my baby to go.
Mm.
Also, substance abuse is an issue, whether it's marijuana or something that's a little bit more damaging. If they don't have insurance or there's long waits or things of that sort, and we can find a provider that might not take, for instance, Medicaid, but will take something else. If we can provide the funding for that so they can get in immediately, we'll do that.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, that is huge because they do struggle with that. Whether it's detox or just, going to programs that provide them guidance on how to cope.
Yeah.
Anything associated with that. Basic needs are going to be huge. Of course, having the food they need. Sometimes a lot of the young people may sell their benefits, their SNAP benefits. And so they're selling it to get cash, but in turn they end up without food.
Yeah.
Or the kids that they have end up without food. And so there's another barrier in that. So teaching them, okay, let's go ahead and feed you, but also teaching you how to manage what you do have. Mm-hmm. We provide that. Clothing, because a lot of times they don't. You have an interview, but you don't have anything to wear. Yeah. Or you don't just have basic underwear. Anything they may need as far as the food and clothing, hygiene items, things of that sort. This grant will cover what they need. And it's a good amount available to address those needs that are keeping them from getting stable housing.
Yeah. So what sort of outreach do you guys do to find?
To find the young people.
Yeah.
So working with our outreach team, there are some locations that we call hotspots where we know young people congregate. And so our outreach team makes regular visits to those areas. There's collaboration, of course, with the homeless liaisons that are within the school system, also some of the local colleges. If they are in shopping centers, some might be going out to the mall. Anytime there is an event in the community where there may be other resources where people are coming in, we want to partner with that because a lot of times you have free stuff, people show up.
Yep.
And so we want to make sure that they're at the table there so young people can know that this is available. Going where they are, meeting them where they are is the name of the game. So finding that. We are part of the local homeless coalition, which is all the partners in Dougherty County that work to fight homelessness no matter the age. So we are focused, of course, on the youth population. And so being a part of that, somebody that might serve moms, there's going to be a subpopulation there that might be teen moms or teen fathers or things of that sort. So being at that table and us being able to collaborate, finding different spots where they are. And one of our big things is with working with young people and talking to them and asking them their advice, because we know where we think they may be, but young people can reach young people. Yeah. And so partner with them to find out how do you reach the young people so they can pass the word to their friend that may be staying here, there, and everywhere. Finding out where they are and making it our personal mission to get to those areas is where outreach looks like for us. Yeah.
So how does this tie in directly to what you guys have been doing for, since what, 1980?
Right. 1991, we started, of course, initially with the Bridge, which was the housing for foster youth. And since then, we've grown to have other shelters. And so I think things were done a little bit backwards. We ended up providing shelter at the beginning, but not having those preventive and minimally intervention strategies that probably could have stopped them from ending up in the shelter. So if we're able to reach a young person on the streets or potentially being put out, because one of our populations is if you're going to be put out within the next 14 days, if we can catch you there, you might not have to go into shelter. But if you do, it's a seamless transition. Yeah, if you partner with our outreach person and Christy or Tanya meet you where you are, and they find out that there is nobody else, there is nowhere to, that waiting period gets incredibly shorter because, hey, we're going to call and see if at the maternity group home, is there a bed available? We can take you in today and move you there. And that is a more permanent housing, whether it's the 18 months or we have priority relationships with other partners that provide tenant-based rental assistance or rapid rehousing. And so they might not know how to navigate the different systems that are there, but they have the staff who does. And so they can make the phone calls. They can help them complete the paperwork to make sure they're moving from the streets to permanent housing.
That is brilliant, actually.
Yeah, it works hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually recording in the Motif Sober Living Home. Yes. It's under renovation right now. That's why we're able to use it.
Right.
But I was wondering, do you guys partner with any sober living? Is that sort of a situation that you guys are going to, if that's a situation you run into, are you going to be able to send youth to...
If they would, because some programs don't accept youth, unfortunately. They do have some age restrictions, but Aspire is also another organization. Aspire, for this funding for the YHDP, they have received funding for the housing portion of it.
Oh, cool.
So we can collaborate with them on that portion if they're needing substance abuse or just general counseling for anxiety, depression, etc. That we can make a phone call and talk to the partners there to get them housed. We definitely are interested in partnering here if they are eligible to get here. Any person that is willing to take young people, unfortunately there are some age restrictions for certain shelters. Really? Age restrictions or
what is the age? Is it 21? Like what's the age?
Sometimes it's 21 or something. And we have clients sometimes that come in with younger children.
Oh, okay.
And so we do have a high population of teen parents. And so they might not be able to come into some of those programming. But the partners that do, we definitely want to partner and make sure that they are able to receive those services, because substance abuse or dependence is a huge barrier.
Yeah.
If you can't get over, your abuse, then how are you going to successfully complete an educational program, pass the requirements for a job, etc. It just it's another barrier that
or
they're
budget
facing.
Or
exactly.
Simple stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
So what are some of the minimal, I know you mentioned childcare, but what are some of the really small things that you guys can go ahead and help with? Oil changes or what is it?
So when they present, immediately that the funds can be drawn down. So they're coming that day. We can go get them groceries that day.
Really?
Yeah, if they need clothes that day, they can literally show up and us, whether it's in quick online order, we go pick it up and give it to them. They can get everything pretty much within the time period that they're doing intake almost. So basic needs are going to be huge as far as that. Like I said, childcare, we consider that a huge thing. So as long as that we can get to the childcare provider of their choice and they have an opening, we can cut the check for them to go ahead and secure that spot.
Cool.
Yeah, because that's a huge barrier. If I don't have anybody to say about my child, I'm not going to be able to get over this barrier because that above all is child safety. That's the huge barrier that they're facing. And so we want to make sure that there's nothing in your way towards getting stably housed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any success stories from recent? Because it's been almost 2 years since we recorded. Is there any success stories you could share?
Our team here, they're the ones that do the real work. And so I would say, because my success stories are a little bit dated, but they're still pertinent. I think probably the biggest, well, not the biggest, because all of them are huge. The success story that resonates most with me was a single teenage mom who was severely depressed because she had 2 children and she was pregnant with the other and she had not reached the age of 21. Wow. And when we met her, she was in a one of the, I think they cinder block housing that had no air. It was the height of summer. And she just was done, like wanted to be done with life. Yeah. And so I remember us picking her up and placing her into our transitional living program. At that time, we have a maternity group home now, but at that time, we did not have that funding. But we placed her there and really dealt with her mental health. Fast forward, let me go back a little bit, rewind. No communication with her father or the child's father. Her mother was incarcerated. Siblings were in foster care. And she was trying her best not to end up, through that system. So she came in, long story short, worked the program, and her mom has overcome her issues. She got out of jail, got clean. Her and her mom now work your business together. Her children are thriving. They're working the family business too, and it's just, if you provide the young people with the tools that they need, you change the complete trajectory of where they're going. Yeah. I don't mean to be scratching up the table. You change everything, because if they don't have somebody or something to rely on, then they rely on what they've been doing, whether it's, I'm going to stay on the streets, I'm going to continue to hustle, with those that are relying on someone that by definition is trafficking them. If you got to sell yourself in order to lay somewhere, you're being trafficked. And a lot of them don't even realize it. They just think they're surviving. And in their head, that's what it is. So I'm doing what I got to do to make it. And so programs like this can help with situations like that. When you're talking about how do we eradicate those long-term and those detrimental situations, sometimes it's as simple as, I'm going to come in here and I'll make sure you're going to eat. I'm going to come in here and make sure you got somewhere to take your kid. And that way you're in the mindset that somebody is willing to help, but I'm also in the mindset to be motivated to do better for myself.
Yeah. Absolutely. So how can people help? Like, I know you mentioned just the option to advocate for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Is that the only way people can? No,
people can do a lot of, I definitely advocate, because we are a program, and that's what it is. It is a short term. I think long-term relationships is going to be key. If they have a skill set, if you have someone, if it's an employer and you give our kids a chance, realize that they're not going to have a whole lot of work history, and some of it might be colored with some minimal behaviors and things like that. So, but we're here to help support that too, but give them a chance That's going to be huge as far as being a mentor, teaching them simple things, donating things that may help them along the way. There are so many things that we can do, and there's a certain time, but if you can be a partner in that process to make sure they continue to have it. We do have awesome community partners that work with it, like for helping mamas with the diapers. Diapers are a whole bill by themselves. Yep. So, to have different partners that they may think is minimal, but when you look in the grand scheme of things, it means a lot. They can donate clothing beyond, what we're doing when they leave. Even things as far as transportation, we do bus passes, and we may fix cars and things that if we have a mechanic that's willing to even make that cost a little bit more efficient, or to teach the young person how to maintain a car, because it might be just they didn't know they were supposed to go get an oil change, and so it's 12 months later and they're wondering why the car shut down. They didn't know, so people that can teach them those skills beyond us, making long-term investments in their time, as far as time as well as resources, would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there anything you want to add?
I'm just super excited about this program. We're in a time where a lot of different cuts and things are happening, but we are still able to maintain this. And so I'm excited about what it does. When we initially applied for this funding, we were not sure that we were going to get it. And so we're grateful that God did grant us, the ability to provide such service, that there's no other program within our agency that provides this immediate assistance, especially like with the childcare and all that, just immediate assistance to eradicate what's going on right now, to move people as efficiently as possible from the streets to housing or to some kind of level of stability where they can secure housing. So I'm excited about what it holds. It's a 2-year program right now. We have applied for continuation, and we are in the process right now. It's pretty much been approved. It's a couple of tweaks we just got to do administratively, but it's going to be here for a couple of years, and I think we're going to make a lot of change, so I'm excited about it.
I think one thing that, I didn't plan on adding this, but I think one thing that's really cool that you see is most of the time you either end up in some sort of short-term housing, or you have somewhere to stay that night, or you're doing that and then you're also hunting jobs every day.
Right.
And I think it's really cool that this is a program that does everything.
Yes.
It's both a preventative, but also an accelerator.
Yes.
Like you're speeding up the process instead of spending 6 months in, temporary bad housing and another 3 months in the middle of that trying to find a job. And you go job to job. Instead of doing all that, you can just cram everything into 3 weeks in 1 week or 2 days or under 24 hours and have it all done,
Right. And and that's going to help when we're talking about how do we help fight homelessness. This is how you do it.
Yep.
Remove those molehills that can be mountains and get them on the path that they need to secure permanent housing. And a lot of people don't think that youth homelessness exists, but it does. And we have the referrals, the stats to prove it. Even with that, right now we have another issue. Of course, we have Turner that is on the brink of that maybe closing. And a lot of those young people who don't have anywhere else to go. And so if it's something that we can do, we're going to step in and let them know, hey, this funding is here. I might not be able to do this, but I can do this. This is not going to hinder you in this area. So just doing our part, working towards making sure our young people don't keep on the generation, because a lot of it's generational cycles of poverty and homelessness. If we can stop that, we can change the whole community.
Yeah. Absolutely.